welcome everyone to the Jolera Interview Series. I'm your host, Paolo Del Nibletto, the Chief Channel Business for Jolera. This series features prominent executives from the IT industry talking about technology innovation, the as-a-service market, leadership, and the overall marketplace. Today, my guest is software entrepreneur and former MSP, the creator of the very influential Passportal, Colin Knox. Colin joins us from Calgary. And it needs to be said, Colin, that your vision in developing Passportal solved a big-time problem with MSPs everywhere in terms of password management and documentation. Passportal gave Knox a big profile in the industry and positioned him as a true problem solver. Before founding Passportal, he was the MSP with his company Excel Professional Services. And in 2019, he sold Passportal to SolarWinds MSP and took on a role there. But like most entrepreneurs, Knox could not stand still and rest on his laurels, and he has developed a new company called Gradient MSP, and we'll be asking him about this new venture. During his career, he has attained many honors, such as the Global MSP 500 and the G20 Global Entrepreneurs Alliance. Please welcome Colin Knox.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Well, thanks for joining us, Colin. Why be an entrepreneur? And in your case, a multiple entrepreneur?
I think it's probably either stupidity or craziness. But
not if you find success, my friend.
No, exactly. Then it's just luck. But no, you know what? I think a lot of it comes down to just I love building things, right? And from an early age, I try and build and piece things together, or I tried doing little things like, catching a bunch of little insects in jars and then have my own little bug zoo that I charged the neighborhood kids to come through my yard and look at them. I don't know what they told their parents when they went back, asking for a few bucks to do something, but whatever, right?
Hey, I can make a little bit of money on this, right?
Yeah, I thought this was the coolest thing ever. People paid me to see these bugs I caught, but
right.
I guess, it comes down to creating something that others can enjoy and make their lives easier. I think the most rewarding thing for me is when I see or hear stories about how things that I've created have impacted others. And that's really what drives me to keep going and keep trying new things.
You said the unspoken struggle of entrepreneurship is that it's lonely at the top. And I gather you didn't mean it people-wise, you mean it's all on you. How did you go about dealing with that?
Yeah, I think, you're right that it is all about you. It's one of those weird caveats that there's both no accountability for the top leader, yet full accountability. And it's not very often that you get a performance review or even have your team telling you that, hey, you did a great job or good work, you're being a great manager or whatever. So it's easy to just deal with issues and, handle situations and circumstances thinking that you're the only business owner or leader that's ever encountered these things. And you're almost embarrassed to share the truth sometimes. I think every business I've been a part of and grown, whether it's, less than $1 million, a few million, or, several hundred million, it's one of those things where every little milestone you hit, you're like, hey, we're becoming a real business now. And you don't want to admit all the other things you went through. So, I've learned that you're not alone in any of the stuff that you're encountering and doing. And it almost doesn't matter what scale of business you're in. You have some of the similar struggles and challenges. So I've started to just deal with it by talking with others, whether it's my peers back when I was an MSP, whether it's even my clients and the business owners at my clients when I was an MSP, or fellow vendors when I was running Passportal, just to hear what they're experiencing, what are their struggles, sharing some of what I'm going through. The other thing is I encourage my staff to give me, candid feedback, and more than anything to hold me accountable to, let me know when they think that we're not doing the right thing, so that, I don't want to be surrounded by, a sea of yes people. I'd rather have people that challenge and say, hey, I think we would be better fit doing this, or can you maybe explain a little bit more about why we're doing this? And I think those that approach that from a stance of like, look, I'm the CEO and this is what we're doing, are doing themselves a disservice, because you can't know or be everything to everyone. So being able to get that feedback and almost reprove it to yourself when you're explaining it, it really helps make sure that you get the best possible outcome.
What entrepreneurs, whether you've dealt with them or haven't even met them, made an indelible impression on your career?
I'd say it comes down to two right now. The first one being Robert Herjavec, which very popular Canadian name and very popular in the US now as well. I'd say having not read his very first book, Driven, I think it was, I never would have started my first IT company. I wouldn't have started an MSP. It was that book that actually gave me the inspiration that I had the knowledge, I had the skills, I had the network, and the passion and drive to pull it off. And so I'd say that was probably one of the more inspirational things that showed that, I could build a business of merit in IT, especially in Canada, and make something of it. From there, as I was getting into the building of technology, not just technology services, Steve Jobs made a huge impact. Reading through his, kind of ghostwritten autobiography and other materials and just case studies and how things went at Apple, and his own career of leaving, coming back, and doing the different business interests, I'd say really inspired me to an idea that something that is small with a gritty team can accomplish great things and build world-class solutions that intrigue and get adopted by masses. And I think I'd owe a debt of gratitude to him and what they did at Apple for the importance of branding. And it's like, the way I like to say it is maybe after marriage, some people let certain things go, but when you're in that courtship stage and trying to get people, you're really, a lot of it's impressing them about how you look to get that attention and kind of get down the next steps. And so often, myself included early on, you kind of neglect the brand and what the company looked like and everything, and just thought with great service or the great product, we're going to do everything. But you have to have that first eye-catching thing that people are like, hey, what's that? So I think that's probably why I put such a high emphasis on brand today, and not just what the logo looks like, but the entire fit and feel of the company and its identity. So.
Right. Before I ask you about Gradient MSP, I want to get into Passportal for a bit. When that came out almost a decade ago, it really got people talking in the community, and from a Canadian journalist perspective, it was great that it was coming from a Canadian. What drove you to create Passportal?
So we created it at a time where self-servingly we really needed a solution in our MSP. And at first we embarked on the, I guess we'll call it a journey to find the right solution to buy and implement for our company. And so we had gone out and we did our own search, high and low, for a solution that would match for us as an MSP. We found a ton of enterprise products. We found a ton of consumer products, but nothing in that middle that really worked for, a team of technicians needing access to an unlimited number of distributed enterprises. And with that, we were sure we were missing something, overlooking something. And so we did countless posts to every MSP LinkedIn group or whatever we could find on LinkedIn and other public forums and everything else to just find out what people were using. It was our question that every event we went to, we asked MSPs, like, what are you using to solve and manage your passwords? And nobody had an answer. And so we said, well, let's just build something for ourselves. And so we had done that. And the main reason we were looking for a solution is, first, we had one of our clients that was in the oil and gas industry, and they were a private company, but then they did kind of a reverse takeover acquisition of a public company, and then they were forced to go public as an entirety. And because of that, compliance orders came down the pipe, and they had to go through full audits and everything. And as their IT company, we had to go through it too. And we didn't have an answer for a lot of the questions about how we were protecting privileged credentials, how we could prove who knew them, how we could prove how often they were changed, any of that, all that evidence you needed to be able to provide to satisfy a compliance audit. So that started. And then as we were kind of dealing with that, one of our first employees left, a technician who had been with us since almost the beginning. And we had to go around, it was an amicable split, but we still had to go around and change passwords at every single client.
Yep.
And we were like, son of a gun, we got to find some way to solve all of this crap. So we had built this little solution for ourselves, and being a kind of cheap and cheerful MSP, we didn't have a big network infrastructure ourselves. We didn't want to build one to maintain this. So we kind of commercialized it and made it a cloud-based service. And interestingly, we started getting a lot of prompts after several months for just replies on our posts in the forums and other LinkedIn groups saying, what did you guys do about this? Did you solve this? What did you find? And so we said, hey, let's open this up. Maybe there's real opportunity here. And we did. And with zero marketing, really, we got to almost 300 MSPs, sought it out, found it, bought it, and started using it. So that was kind of the good kick in the butt that we needed to say, I think this problem is a little bit more valuable to solve than continuing to beat the streets here in Calgary and Edmonton with the MSP stuff. So
it's like when you were a kid. It's like story when you were a kid.
Yeah, started out with insects, may or may not have been alive still. And then I realized we needed to up the caliber of the product.
Okay, so you sell it to SolarWinds MSP.
Yeah.
And you're right back at it again with Gradient MSP. Did you feel that you had to strike quickly with this new venture?
To be honest, no. So I spent a year and a half at SolarWinds after the acquisition. We integrated the businesses. I did a lot of work putting some things together for the SolarWinds MSP community, and helping out with their partner experience. And I kind of woke up one day and not that I wasn't having fun, not that the company wasn't good, like everything was great and the team there is phenomenal. I needed a break, I woke up and it was just, I think it's enough. I think I need to rest for a bit. It had been a crazy 10 years building and exiting two companies. And so told them, hey, I think I need to just take time off. I need to go.
Right.
So exited SolarWinds in early September and completely planned on spending upwards of a year to just kind of relax, spend time with the kids and do my own thing. And, I went a little bit crazy in the first month, just doing a million things because I could. It was like playing hooky every day and having fun, but there was eventually no risk of getting caught. And so I kind of settled in and started doing a fair amount of reading and read the book Start With Why by Simon Sinek, which never read. I'd probably been told to read it 100 or more times over my career. And a lot of it just spoke to me. And as I was reading and thinking through some of the use cases and examples and stuff, just for whatever reason, these certain things and struggles about building an MSP and running in that market and building a vendor for the channel just kept popping up in my head and got to a point where I realized I got to solve this. I got to try and try and leave my mark on the industry. So I've brought together a team now and we're embarking on this journey to really help kind of level the playing field on both sides of the ecosystem for MSPs and for channel vendors, and overall level up the whole industry to make the MSP segment more prosperous for everybody that's involved. So on our mission right now, trying to help MSPs have better visibility of their own businesses and the overall industry, and help at the same time channel vendors better hear what the MSPs need and help them get it to them. So that's what we're working on now.
So I hate to state the obvious, but you launched Gradient MSP smack dab in the middle of a global pandemic. What was that experience like?
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm a firm believer in the fact that there's there's never a good time to do anything in particular, right? Like when we were thinking about having kids, there's never a good time to have a kid. There's always something going on, right? There's never a good time to leave a job. There's never a good time to start a new company. And my MSP, in fact, I launched right in smack dab in the middle of the global economic recession in 2008, 2009. So it's kind of the same thing for me, but so far it's been amazing, really. The response that we've seen and heard has been maybe a bit on the overwhelming side, which is great. But we're starting this conversation in the industry. Rather than shouting out about what products we're building, we're focusing on why we're doing it and what our concerns for the market is, and trying to make as strong a conversation as possible with everybody that we feel has been too long ignored, and it's almost hush. Yet at the same time, everybody's concerned about it. When when MSPs are all in session at conferences, the vendors are all chitter-chattering about the concerns, right? And when you're an MSP and you're hanging out in your peer groups, they're all chitter-chattering about it, but it's not a loud enough conversation. And it's rooted in my belief in a large misunderstanding about MSPs not fully understanding the motives and approach and intentions of the vendors. And at the same time, the vendors not fully understanding the MSPs at times. So, it's one of these things that maybe the timing was unusual, but to be honest, it's also extremely cost effective because I can't even travel anywhere to promote or talk about it. It's hopping on a lot of calls like this with great people like you. So yeah, so far so good.
Awesome. So, my last interview brought up a study being conducted by your hometown university, University of Calgary, on decision making and decision makers and how it's all changing. What's your take on, today's business decision-making process?
Yeah, I think there's all these different market segments. It doesn't matter if it's enterprise, mid-market, SMB, consumer. They're all converging into a very consumerized buying approach and a buying journey. Again, it doesn't matter what segment you're in, there will always be kind of that main decision maker and generally the influencers. But with that, the thing to remember, it doesn't matter if it's in business at any segment of the market, it's still a person that's doing the purchasing and making that decision. And they are people that, aren't looking to test drive 10 different options, right? It's somebody that's gone in, they're recognizing and respectful of their own time. So they do their research ahead of time. They read third-party reviews, they watch YouTube videos, demo videos, whatever they can get their hands on to essentially make their short list, if not already having made their choice, before they ever contact the possible vendors or suppliers for them. And from that point forward, it's all about the sales experience. It's not about the salesmanship. It's no longer about the caliber of the product or the strategic advantage or, apples to oranges comparison there, because many times they've made up their mind. So I think as a result of that, companies need to spend more time on empowering the modern buyer and making sure that they are present where the buyers are searching for a solution, and maybe less time and effort on trying to convince people who aren't shopping for something right now. Instead of doing that, which is generally a lot of fruitless efforts and wasted money, begin a slower but very methodical and informative education for those people on maybe why they might want to consider shopping for such a thing, and give them the social proof that it is a good idea to help usher them along. And then as part of that ushering process, you become one of the default consideration points. Right. I think the only other thing to consider with that is that since it's people doing the purchasing, they're emotional beings. Yeah. And they realize too that they're buying from people. So, if I have a bad experience with you, as a person, you are now the representative of that company, and whether we jive or we don't may be the indicator of if I buy from the company, which is crazy, but it's true. And these people need to feel like they know, like, and trust whoever it is that's selling them and proposing something to them. Because again, like any product can do the job. It's just going to come down to how you make them feel when they're going through that buying process, and the confidence that they have that you're going to stand behind that product or offering if or when it stumbles. And so I think that's the key thing for people to clue in and remember here.
Yeah, so true. What's failing the entrepreneurs these days from an industry perspective?
I think it's false expectations based on just overall or general bias, mixed with a little bit of marketing fluff, right? So I think there's a lot of reasons why very large organizations are held to a legal standard against almost a governing authority about what they can and can't say marketing wise.
Yeah.
Yet that's for these multi-billion-dollar revenue tech companies, or not even tech companies, any company. Yet you can have anybody that's a $1 million, $5, $10, $20, $100 million organization that can say almost anything. And if somebody sends them a cease and desist, okay, I'll stop saying it. But the word is still out there, right? Exactly. Whether it's saying I have X thousands of partners or X thousands and tens of thousands of users or whatever it is, I think that fogs the reality in a lot of cases and does a disservice, because in some cases it lands on overselling something, which just leaves a sour taste in the person's mouth who bought it and then realized it after the fact. And I think the reality, especially in our industry with the MSP market, is there's all these false expectations that get put out there with, you know, some substance and some not, but always it seems with a bit of bias, right? Whether it's saying how much MSP should be charging every month, or how much they should be growing year over year, what their profit should be. And at the end, it's all driven towards either buying more stuff from me or signing up for my service or letting me help you. And it's generally always restricted to how the best in class are performing, not to how the every MSP is performing, or the MSP that's in your revenue band or even geography. So I think that is the big disservice to the entrepreneurs in our space who can't truly understand or know how they are performing compared to where they should be. Who don't know if they're buying or partnering with the right company because it's missing that factual evidence, so to speak.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest failing for the entrepreneurs in our industry today.
So Colin, you also wanted to talk about focused marketing, and to me that sort of looks like having all your eggs in one basket, but how do you see it?
I guess anytime that you focus, you are reducing the scope or the size of the net, the size of the basket, or whatever the basket is or what's going into it, right? But I think it doesn't necessarily need to limit the potential for success or the outcome. And so I mean it this way is instead of using this wide spray approach of shouting to the market about all the different products or services you offer, maybe reconsider and choose what's your best product or the one that's easiest to onboard and blast out about that one. Because from there, you can have people come in and start doing business with you and then gradually upsell them as a much more focused group, and realizing those other statistics out there of how much cheaper it is to actually retain an existing customer versus acquire a new one. And at the same time, your likelihood of success in selling to somebody who already buys something from you is way higher than somebody new. So either focusing on the one product that is that perfect foot in the door or easiest to onboard, that's going to be the least intrusive yet the easiest and most immediate time to value. Or conversely, if you just have all of these things and you're an MSP and you have all these services that you're trying to put out there and you need to, maybe focus who you're talking to, right? Instead of blasting, I remember at our MSP, a little bit foolish, but we did this direct mail to the entire downtown core of Calgary. So the whole postal region for that area, we blasted with direct mail. How stupid was that? Because we probably spent a ton of money hitting these enterprise customers who, if they had even called us and considered, probably would have just killed our company, just crushed us under the pressure.
Right. Yeah.
And the amount of there's residences there. So a bunch of people living in condo buildings and stuff downtown got our direct mail, and we weren't in residential and stuff, right? But focusing down to who it is you're talking to, and maybe that's the type of business and the vertical you're looking to go after, or maybe even realizing that, hey, our decision makers are always the CFO or director of finance or whoever that we end up kind of reporting to. I'm going to target people with that, right? And do a LinkedIn search and connect with as many CFOs of small businesses in your region as you can, and then nurture the hell out of those people with that one consistent message. Right. And I think by focusing either who you're talking to or what you're offering, you're going to have better success and less complicating of your sale when you're trying to get some new business going.
That's a pretty cool story about direct marketing there for sure. Now you've also blogged about cybersecurity. How do you see security play out in the as a service market?
I think it does well, right? I think cybersecurity and security is this hype wave that's been going on for the last decade. So I don't think it's exactly called a hype wave anymore. Yeah. But I think what's happened with the whole as a service movement, especially in security, is that it's made it a much easier way for customers to digest the costs, and it evens out that expenditure for many organizations instead of this whopping upfront cost to do some big project. The other side of it is that by taking this as a service and recurring payment or recurring investment approach, it's realizing that security is not a set it and forget it type of thing. So that market education in that category has actually done a great job of justifying the ongoing expense, because it is like an insurance. It's not just, hey, we're going to implement this firewall and you're good. No, you kind of got to monitor what's going on in the back end. Can't just sell you an antivirus software or endpoint protection software and all those definitions are always updating and always scanning and stuff. So, I think there's still a lot of work to be done, because unfortunately, there's a bunch of MSPs now that are out there offering security services and not realizing the level of liability that comes with that. Sure. and end up getting in over their heads. And so I think there's a lot to be had with the as a service market, and there's a lot of opportunities for MSPs to monetize and deliver great services to their clients. I think they need to kind of zone in on the same concept of needing partners, and instead of them trying to be everything for their clients, they'd likely in many cases be better suited, for their own protection of their clients and protection of their profit, to partner with a leading security company that has the focus and the skill set to deliver a quality solution and offering for their clients, where they can kind of be that bridge and that connector.
Very cool. And speaking of cool, I want to ask you about the G20 Entrepreneurs Alliance, because I can't think of a cooler club to be a part of. What's that experience been like for you?
That was really cool. So that's a couple of years now. It was interesting. I mean, once you're a part, you're always a part of it, but it was really a one-time initiative that we were part of, where I was a member of the Canadian delegation to go out to Buenos Aires and, do, I guess it would have been about a week's worth of lead up, working with the, government representatives of the G20 to talk about how to foster better trade globally between all the countries in the G20, and what levels of support and assistance would help foster and help drive business on a global basis, to just improve the trade and the commerce and everything overall, whether that be different rules for entering a country to do business in there, whether it was hiring and staffing overseas or any of that stuff. So it was super cool. It was a lot of fun. Was there with a bunch of brilliant other people. I think there was about 500 representatives globally that participated, but that was awesome. And I think that was great. I think for a similar style group that can have just a very notable impact on the world of technology and IT and MSPs in particular, I would give a shout out to CompTIA, who surely you've heard of them. If you haven't, I mean, they're the world's largest IT trade organization, and they do a world of benefit for our industry, whether that's through the creation of best practices, whether that's the lobbying of legislation as it comes to technology, whether that's fostering women in technology and veterans and really entrepreneurs in technology. It's just all around just such an amazing organization to be a part of and to participate in. I was fortunate a few years ago to be part of the IT Security Executive Council there, and start to put into place some of the best practices for cybersecurity and methodologies for MSPs or any IT professional to follow to get into a better security posture for them and their clients. So.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with you about CompTIA. I spoke and covered a lot of their events in the past. No, for sure. So did you at least get like a great dinner at the Casa Rosata when you're at Buenos Aires?
We had a lot of great dinners. There was a lot of fun. I mean, all fairly young entrepreneurs. So you're on the other side of the world, almost all expenses paid. You get up to some good times, right? So we toured around, we had some fun, and did some business stuff, which I think will be something that I'll forever remember and happy to have been a part of. So, yeah, I think it was awesome, and some of the things that we're starting to see between international trade today are based on some of the meetings that we had back then.
Fantastic. Anything else you want to add?
Not too much. It's just as we'll kind of go full circle back to the beginning there of how lonely it is as a leader in any business, and especially as an MSP or small business, is to connect with other business owners and have a group that you can share with and talk to and almost be vulnerable with. Because I'm one of those firm believers that until you let your guard down, unless you swallow the pride and look past that, whether it's self-improvement or business improvement, I don't feel is going to be successful. And I think there is a reality in understanding where you stand and what you're facing. And you can only get through it the easiest way, generally, by the help and support of others who can also respect and appreciate what you're going through. So, I'm always happy to talk with people and share experiences and understand where you're at. And more than anything, I'm very driven to help the entire MSP market just level up and be more successful.
Fantastic. So where can people find you, either online or on social media?
At Reality Knox is the
Reality
handle.
Knox.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, what have you. That's where you'll find me. And feel free, connect up and happy to chat.
Pretty good handle. Again, Colin, thanks again for your time today. Amazing insights and stories. All the best with Gradient MSP. Best of luck with that new venture. That's it for me. Paolo Del Nibletto signing off for the Jolera Interview Series. Until next time, so long.
Thanks.